Om Sai Ram. Let us understand chapter number 28, narration of visions. But before that, let us do the Namasmaran, followed by chapter number 28, and then we will conclude chapter number 28 with the Aarti. Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. Om Shri Sai Nathaya Namaha. 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 Om Sai Ram. Chapter number 28, narration of visions. I bow down to Shri Ganesh. I bow down to Shri Saraswati. I bow down to the Guru. I bow down to the family deity. I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra. I bow down to Shri Sadguru Sainath. Sai is not confined to one place. Sai dwells in all creations, from Brahma to small creatures like ants and flies. He pervades all and is everywhere. Sai is well versed with the Vedas and had all the attributes of an absolute Brahman. He was proficient in both. He was well fitted to be a Sadguru. One may be very learned, but one may not be able to awaken the disciple or establish him in self realization. Then he does not deserve to be called a Sadguru. A father gives birth to the body, and death invariably follows life. The Guru releases you from birth and death. So his comparison is greater than anyone else. Now listen to this chapter on dreams with reference to the earlier context of how Baba gives darshan to his devotees by appearing in their dreams. He asked one to draw a trident, and the other was asked for kicking, and still another was beaten with a stick on his back in the form of a teacher. He frightened somebody by appearing in his dream and made him leave the addiction to alcohol. Warding off many such problems of his devotees, he strengthened their devotion. The listeners have already heard how he flayed the skin of someone's back with a cane and used his chest as a grinding stone and took stone as a roller to grind. All this has been narrated in chapter number 10. The stories that follow are rare and excellent. The listeners and the narrator will be blessed as they harmonize. They will give everlasting happiness. Let us narrate the stories about saints which are always very pure, which will wipe off the sins of listening to untruth, malicious remarks, etc. Now, let me tell you those stories. Listeners should hear them with respect. They will reveal Sai's compassionate nature at every step. The Raleigh brothers were Greek merchants who brought things from all over India and had their business establishments in different cities, out of which Bombay was one. At that time, Lakshmi Chand worked under one of the officers there. He was very honest and obedient. He worked as a munshi. He worked with the railways first and then with Venkatesh Press. It was only then that he came in contact with Sai. Hear how it happened. My man can be in any place, even 1,000 miles away. I will draw him to me with a string tied to his feet like a sparrow fledging. Baba said these words often. People not only heard them frequently but also experienced that. I shall narrate that sport of Baba. Many such children from various places were brought to Shirdi, of whom Lakshmi Chand was one. He was a devoted child of Baba. We only meet a saint who dispels the darkness born of ignorance when the good deeds of many lives are brought to the fore by fate. The fire of discrimination is ignited when fortune favors and we gain detachment. The accumulated karmas of past birth end and life becomes fulfilled. Once Sainath fills the visions, there is no room for anyone else there. Even when the eyes are closed, it is Sainath that encompasses the vision. I met Lalaji, Lakshmi Chand, and he narrated his experiences, which I have treasured in my heart with great love. I shall narrate them with eagerness. See how he was caught. That Leela is unparalleled. Devoted listeners hear it with complete concentration. It was during Christmas holidays of 1910 that Lalaji got an opportunity to come to Shirdi. That was the first time he had a darshan. He but let us hear what happened to him a couple of months earlier to give indication of this event. When he was at Santa Cruz, he had a strange dream all of a sudden about a matter which never entered his mind before. He was bearded old sadhu. He saw a bearded old sadhu surrounded by devotees. This Mahatma was standing thus, to whom he paid loving reverence. Some time later, Lakshmi Chand went to the house of Dattatreya Manjunath Birjur to hear the kirtan of Das Ganu. It was always the practice of Das Ganu to keep Baba's picture in front of him. Immediately on seeing it, Lakshmi Chand was reminded of the man he had seen in his dream. It was the same beard, the same age, the same features and limbs. Lakshmi Chand concentrated and felt that this was the same Mahatma. To begin with, it was Das Ganu's Kirtan, in which there was an apologue of Tukaram and there was a darshan of a sadhu of his dream. Lalaji was deeply engrossed. Lakshmi Chand, who was very tender hearted, had loving tears in his eyes. He yearned to meet and see the personage in the picture. He had no other thought in his mind except that of the person he had saw earlier in his dream and whose picture he had seen in the kirtan. His inner inclination was fixed there only. Will I meet a friend who will accompany me to Shirdi? When will I put my head in person at the saint's feet? Will I be able to have the darshan of the sadhu? Will I ever be able to enjoy the bliss of his love? Such was Lakshmi Chand's constant longing. The money for the expenses must also be arranged. Then what should be done next? How will the darshan be obtained quickly? Some method will have to be found. God always longs for love. See what miracle happened. That same night around 8 o'clock, a friend knocked at his door. Then, when he opened the door and looked, he saw his friend Shankar Rao, who asked Lakshmi Chand if he would like to go to Shirdi. I had planned to go to Kedgaon for the darshan of Narayan Maharaj, but I had a strong desire to go to Shirdi first. One has to make efforts to get what one desires, but the chance for which he was fully waiting fell right on his lap. Lakshmi Chandji could not contain his joy. He borrowed 15 rupees from his cousin. Shankar Rao did the same. They made preparations for their departure. They got together their bag and baggage and got ready to leave. They went in time to get the tickets and both caught the train. Shankar Rao was a good singer of bhajans and both sang in the train. Lakshmi Chandji's out of curiosity made enquiries on the way. If he met anyone going to Shirdi, he would greet them on meeting them and say, tell us about Sai Baba's greatness according to your experience. Sai Baba is a great saint and well known near Nagar. He said, tell us clearly of some personal experience. In the compartment, there were four Muslims who lived near Shirdi. Lakshmi Chand felt contented on conversing and gossiping with them. Tell us anything you may know about Sai Baba. Lakshmi Chand asked them with devotion and love. Sai Baba is a great saint and he lived in Shirdi for many years. He is a great Aulia and sage, they replied. Thus, in happy conversation, they completed the journey till both of them reached Kopargaon. There, the Sheikh was reminded of something. Sai Baba likes govas and they grow in Kopargaon. It is said that they are sold on the banks of Godavari. So we will offer them to Baba. But when they came to the banks of Godavari, he was so fascinated by the scenic view that he forgot all about the Goas till the Tonga reached the opposite bank. From there, Shirdi was only 4 villages away, and the Tonga was at full speed. Lakshmi Chand then remembered the Goas where there were none to be seen. At that moment, an old woman with a basket on her head was seen running after the Tonga. The carriage was stopped for her, and it seemed as if Boaz had come to meet him. Lakshmi Chand was filled with joy. He selected the Boas with care for those that remained in the basket. The old woman asked them to offer Baba on her behalf, remembering the Goas and forgetting about them. Then an unexpected meeting with an old woman and seeing her devotion to Sai. All this surprised both of them. First, I saw an old man in a dream. Then he encountered him at the kirtan. This old woman must be a relative of his. Yes, Lakshmi Chand, may it be whatsoever. The Tonga continued and they reached Shirdi in no time. They saw flags above the masjid from afar and they both bowed with devotion. They took all the necessary items for the puja and went to the masjid immediately. They felt very happy after taking Sai's darshan, entering the courtyard from the entrance door and seeing Baba's form from a distance. They were in deep emotional state. On having the darshan of the desired personage, Lakshmi Chand was totally absorbed. He forgot hunger and thirst and was in supreme bliss. Taking a clean water in his hands, he washed Baba's lotus feet and did puja in the traditional way. Then he offered bananas and coconut. He offered incense, waved light betel leaf, and made a monetary offering. Mentally circumambulated, offered a garland of flowers, and then sat near at his feet. Lakshmi Chand, being a loving devotee, basked in devotion and grace of his Guru, and having attained Sai's lotus feet, hovered over them like a bee. Then Baba began to speak in Hindi. That the rascal sang bhajans on the way and made enquiries of others. Why ask others? Seeing everything with your eyes, why ask anyone else? Is the dream true or not? Come to your own decision. What was the necessity of coming for darshan after borrowing money from a Marwadi? Is your heart desire fulfilled now? They were stupefied by words. Lakshmi Chand felt greatly surprised that Baba should have the knowledge here of the enquiries he made on the way. I had a dream at home. I did bhajans on the train. How did Baba come to know about it? How amazing is the knowledge of the secret of the heart. He also knows that in my eagerness for darshan, I borrowed money to make up the full amount as there was shortage of money. Lakshmi Chand was greatly surprised, and so were all the devotees gathered there. All the bees hovering at the lotus feet felt that Baba's knowledge was beyond imagination. The principal lesson was that Baba did not like running into a debt to celebrate a festival or go on a holiday or a pilgrimage. So be it. With all the devotees, Lakshmi Chand went to Satyavada. In the afternoon, he sat for lunch with great joy. At that time, some devotees bought sanza as Baba's prasad and distributed a little to each one on the leaf used as a lunch plate. He enjoyed this very much. The next day at mealtime, Lalaji recalled the sansa, but it was not available every day. So he was anxious to get it again. But on the third day, there was a marvel. Maharaj Sai granted his unfulfilled craving. See how he arranged it. Jog came to the masjid with sandalwood paste, consecrated rice, flowers, bell, niranjan, and the five-wigged lamp, and asked Baba, "What should I bring for Naivedya today?" Maharaj instructed, "Bring me a platter full of sanza. You can do the Aarti and Puja later." Leaving the Puja paraphernalia there, Jog immediately went and returned in no time, bringing Shira with him, enough for everybody. Then the noon Aarti took place. The platters of the Naivedya brought by the devotees earlier were sent up. Then Baba said to his devotees, "Today is a good fine day. I have felt the sansa should be today's prasad. Get it quickly. Everyone should eat it to their heart's content." Then the devotees went and bought two big pots full of sansa. Lakshmi Chand felt very hungry and he also had pain in his back. Lakshmi Chand was uncomfortable on account of his hunger and backache. Then listen with care to the words that came from Baba's lips. "It is good that you are hungry, but the pain in the back needs medicine. Sanza has arrived in abundance. Get up for Aarti." He said this in Hindi. Baba's words were an echo of Lakshmi Chand's thoughts. Without him having made a sound, Maharaj was the knower of the secrets of the heart. May it be so. After the Aarti, Sanza was served at the time of lunch. Lakshmi Chand's craving was satisfied. He was happy. Since then, he was devoted to Baba. He regularly offered agarbatti, coconut, and garland. Lakshmi Chand also prospered. The puja was regular and ritualistic. He developed such a devotion for Sai. Whenever he found someone going to Shirdi, he sent along with him a garland, dakshina, camphor, and agarbattis. Whenever Lakshmi Chand came to know that someone was going to Shirdi, he sent three things with dakshina for Baba without fail. On that trip, when Lakshmi Chand went to see the Chavdi procession, Baba started coughing and breathed hard with distress. Lakshmi Chand thought how this cough is troubling him. It seems that somebody has cast an evil eye, and that is why he is coughing. This was only a thought that arose in Lakshmi Chand's mind. The next morning, when he came to the masjid, how surprising it is that Baba said the same thing, translating through thought into speech. When Madhavrao came, Baba spoke to him on his own. "Yesterday I had a lot of coughing. Is it because of somebody's evil eye? I felt that somebody had cast an evil eye on me. Therefore, this cough is frequent, worrying me and making me suffer." Lakshmi Chand was surprised at this repetition of his own thoughts. How did Baba know this? Is he all pervasive? Then, folding hands, he supplicated him, "I am very pleased with your darshan. Therefore, continue to grant me this favor and protect me, Maharaj. Now, there is no other God except these feet. Let my mind be ever absorbed in your worship and your feet always." He said, "I lay my head at your feet and asked for your permission to leave. Sai Samartha, now grant it on us and look to me always with the same kindness. Let your continuing grace keep me free from all worldly problems. Let the chanting of your name fulfill us and give us happiness and contentment always." Lakshmi Chand returned after receiving Udi and blessings with his friend and joyfully sang about Sai's glory on the way home. Similarly, another sparrow was tied and brought to Shirdi by Baba when the time was right for darshan. Listen to that novel way. This sparrow was a very loving lady. Her story is very wonderful. She lived in Baranpur where she saw Sai Maharaj in a dream. She had never seen Baba in person, but still she had a dream that Baba had come in standing at her door asking for a meal of khichdi. She woke up immediately but found no one at that place. She told about her dream to everyone promptly. Her husband was an official in the postal department of the same town. Later, he was transferred to Akola and they made preparations to visit Shirdi. The couple was very devout and became anxious for Sai's darshan. They were very curious about the dream and felt that Sai's leelas were inexplicable. So, on a convenient day, they left for Shirdi. On the way, they paid their homage to the Gomti Tirth and reached Shirdi. They took Baba's darshan with love and worshipped him with devotion. Serving Baba's feet regularly, they were full of happiness. Thus, the couple stayed happily in Shirdi for 2 months. Baba was also satisfied with the khichdi meal made with faith and devotion. The couple came to Shirdi to offer khichdi as Naivedya, but though a fortnight had passed, the khichdi was not offered as Naivedya. There was a delay in fulfilling the determined resolution, and the lady did not like it. On the 15th day at noon time, she came with the khichdi. The curtains were already drawn, and Baba had sat down for the meal with his devotees. The lady understood this. When the meal was in progress, no one went beyond the curtains. But the lady was eager and she could not remain quiet in the courtyard. She had come to Shirdi from Akola with enthusiasm of offering khichdi. How can its acceptance remain unfulfilled? Was her anxiety. Without listening to anyone, she raised the curtains with her own hands, and without taking anyone's permission, she entered and fulfilled her wish. Then Baba did something wonderful. He longed so much for khichdi that he asked for it to be served first and held the platter with both hands. He was delighted to see the khichdi. Taking morsel after morsel, Baba fed himself. Everyone were wonderstruck. Seeing Baba's eagerness, everybody was surprised. Then, when they heard the story about the khichdi, they realized Sai's inexplicable behavior. Now, after hearing the next story, you will be choked with emotion. A Gujarati Brahmin came unexpectedly to Shirdi to serve. He had been employed earlier by Rao Bahadur Sate. He could reach Baba's feet due to his honest services. This story is also very interesting. The Lord fulfills the desire of anyone who had an inclination for loving devotion. Listen to it. His name was Megha. He attained a place in Shirdi because of some connection with Sai in his previous birth. Get ready to listen to the story. Sate was an officer of Keda Jilla where he came across Megha unexpectedly. He employed him for doing regular Shiva Puja. Later, this Sate came to Shirdi, and this is what changed his fortunes. He came in close contact with Sai Maharaj. There was a deep devoted at his feet. Seeing this large crowd of those who came for a pilgrimage, he decided to have his own vada there for the convenience of visitors who came with family and friends. Then he met the leading villagers and acquired that piece of land where Baba had been seen. It was decided to build the Vada there. The importance of this holy piece of land has been fully described in the fourth chapter, so there is no need for a repetition. Let us continue the narration. Megha's merits of the past life were great, because of which he came into contact with Rao Bahadur Sate. It was then only he started making spiritual progress thanks to Sate's efforts. Due to circumstances, Megha was unable to perform the prescribed rituals. By having him taught the Gayatri mantra, Sate made him follow the righteous path. Megha started serving Sate, and this caused their mutual respect to grow. Megha regarded Satya as a guru and developed affection for him. So be it. Once, when Satya was casually talking and describing the greatness of his own guru, he was choked with emotion and he respectfully asked Megha, I have a strong desire to bathe Baba with water from the Godavari. Therefore, I am sending you to Shirdi specifically for this purpose. Besides seeing your wholehearted devotion, I feel that you should be associated with the Sadguru and develop a devotion at his feet. The purpose of your life will be fulfilled when you will attain supreme well being. Go and surrender with your whole being to the Sadguru. Megha asked him about Baba's caste. In reality, Sateh had no knowledge of it. He said, some call him a Muslim because he sits in the masjid. At the word Muslim, Megha's mind wavered. No one could be lower than a Muslim. What sort of a guru could he be? He knew that Sateh would get annoyed if he refused, but was convinced that he would spiritually fall very low if he agreed. He was very confused and worried. He was between the devil and the deep sea. He was wavering and uneasy, but Sateh insisted a lot, so he decided to take darshan. Then Megha came to Shirdi and arrived at the courtyard of the masjid. As he began to climb the steps, Baba started his leela. He became wild with rage and picking up the stone in his hand. Beware if you put your feet on the steps. This place is inhabited by a Muslim. You are a high caste Brahmin, and I am the lowest of low Muslim. You will be defied. Go back. The angry form was this like another Rudra at that time of dissolution of the world. The onlookers trembled with fear, and Megha was quaking. But this anger was superficial. Inwardly, he was overflowing with compassion. Megha was filled with surprise and perplexed. How did he come to know my inner thoughts? The distance between Kedgaon and Ahmednagar was considerable. It seems that he wants to expose my mind full of doubts. As Baba ran forward to strike him, Megha's courage failed him. He moved backwards with every step and had no courage to move forward. He remained in this manner for some days. He observed Baba in various moods. He rendered whatever service he could, but did not develop full faith. Later, he returned home where he fell sick and was confined to bed. Then he began to contemplate upon Baba and came back to Shirdi. At that time, when he came, he continued to stay there. He became devoted to Sai. He became a dedicated devotee of Sai. There was no other deity for him other than Sai. Megha was already a Shankar devotee. When he got attached to Sai's feet, he looked at Sainath as Shankar. He was his Umnath. Megha continuously chanted Sai Shankar day and night, and his inner self was merged in this form. His mind was pure and free of sin. He became a dedicated devotee of Sai. He felt that Sai was Shankar himself. His chant of Shankar, Shankar, reverberated. He did not believe in any other deity. Worship of Sai was worship of God to him. Sai was his Girija Raman. With this idea firmly rooted in mind, Megha remained always happy. Shankar likes bell leaves, but there was no bell leaves in Shirdi. Therefore, Megha went for a course or a cause and a half to fulfill his desire of offering these leaves. For him, a course or two was nothing. He was ready to cross a mountain for bell, for he would have fulfilled his desire to do puja as he wanted it to be done. He would bring the bell from long distances, get together all the puja paraphernalia completely, and then worship all the village deities one by one. He would offer to all according to proper rituals. After that, he would come immediately to the masjid, lovingly bow to Baba's seat, wash his feet, etc., and drink that water as teeth. Further, stories about Megha will be delightful to listen. They will show Sai's all pervasiveness and reverence for the village deities. Till Megha was in Shirdi, he performed the noon aarti regularly. But before that, he worshipped all the village deities and then went to the masjid. This was his regular routine. But one day, this pattern was broken. He could not worship Khandoba though he made the efforts. He tried to do puja, but the door of the temple did not open in spite of his efforts. Therefore, he omitted and came to the masjid to do aarti. That moment, Baba said to him, "Today there is a break in your puja. You have worshipped all deities, but one has remained unworshipped. Go and do that and come here." Megha replied, "The door was locked and would not open, though I tried. Therefore, I was forced to omit that puja." Baba said, "Go and see. The door is open now." Megha went immediately without wasting a moment and found the words were correct. He worshipped Khandaraya and Megha also got rid of his uneasiness. Then Baba allowed Megha to do his puja. Then he did puja with great reverence with sandalwood paste, flowers, and other eight offerings. He offered dakshina, garlands, fruits, etc., according to his means. On the day of Makar Sankranti, he felt like anointing Baba's whole body with sandalwood paste and then giving him a bath with the Godavari water. He he pestered Baba permission. So Baba said, "Go and do as you desired." So immediately Megha took a copper vessel and set out for the water. Early in the morning, before sunrise, Megha took an empty copper vessel without an umbrella or chappals, set out to get water from Godavari. The entire distance for coming and going was about 8 course. It did not even occur to him and think of the exertion and strenuous efforts he would have to make. Megha was not at all worried about this. He set out on getting the permission. Then there was a strong determination. There is great joy in performing tasks. When he thought of giving a bath to Sai with Godavari water, he was not bothered about the strenuous efforts or exertion. His firm faith was his support. So be it. He brought the water and poured it into the wide mouthed copper pot. He began to persuade Sai to get up for a bath, but he did not agree. The noon aarti was over and the people have gone back to the homes. All preparations for the bath have been made in the afternoon, said Megha. Seeing Megha's great insistence, then Sai, in sport and as if in a mock fight, took Megha's hand in his hand and said, "I do not wish to bathe in the Godavari waters. How immature can you be? Why does a fakir like me want Ganga water? What is it to me?" But Megha was not prepared to listen at all. Since he believed that Baba was Shankar, he only knew that Shankar is pleased with Ganges water. He said, "Baba, today is the festival of Makar Sankranti, when Shankar is given a bath with the waters of Ganges. He is propitiated." Then, considering his love and his adamant resolution, Baba said, "Fulfill your wish." As Megha was pure of heart, after saying that, he got up and sat down on a low stool made ready for a bath. He bent forward his head and said, "Pour just a little water." Out of all the limbs, the head was the most important. Pour a little water on it. It is as good as having a full bath. At least listen to that much. Agreeing to do so, Megha picked up the pot. He was so overwhelmed with love while pouring it on his head that he emptied it completely while shouting Har Ganga and poured it on his whole body. Megha was greatly joyful. "My Shankar has bathed with his clothes on," he said, and he poured the empty pot. When he looked, he was greatly surprised. Though he had poured the water on the whole body, only the head was wet. All the other limbs were absolutely dry. There was not even a drop of water on the clothes. Megha's pride was crushed. Those who were around were surprised. Shri Sai thus gratifies the fond fancies of his devotees. You felt like giving me a bath. Go ahead and do it to satisfy your desire. While doing that, also, you will easily get to know my inner powers. Baba seemed to say by this Leela. This is the principle of devotion to Sai. If only through good fortune you reach him, there is nothing that is impossible to achieve. Gradually, everything becomes easy. Casually, while sitting, taking, talking, going for walks in the morning and in the afternoon, if the devotees have faith and patience, he achieves whatever he desires. But any power or miraculous sign was shown in the course of a normal routine. Gradually, he created inherent interest and made them understand spiritual matters. There is another story of Megha which will please the listeners in every way. See Sai's love for his devotees, and the listeners will be pleased. A big picture of Baba, which Nana Chandolkar had newly given, was placed in the Wada by Megha, and he worshipped it regularly. The real image at the masjid and the exact replica in the Wada were worshipped with Aarti at both places day and night. When about 12 months had passed in doing this divine service, when Megha was awake early one morning, he saw a vision. Megha was lying in bed and thought he had his eyes closed. He was fully awake and he saw Baba distinctly. Baba too was aware that he was awake. He then threw concentrated rice on his bed and said, Megha, draw a trident, and then disappeared there and then. Listening to these words of Baba, Megha opened his eyes with great enthusiasm. He was very surprised to find that Baba had disappeared. Then Megha looked all around. There were grains of rice scattered everywhere on the bed. The doors of the Vada was closed as earlier, hence he was confused. He went to the masjid immediately. While taking Baba's darshan, Megha told him the story of the trident and asked him permission to draw it. Megha related the vision with all details. Baba said, how can it be a vision? Did you not hear my words? I told you to draw the trident. Are you trying to test my words by calling it a vision? My words are always very profound, and not a syllable is empty. I too felt this at first. You had woken me, but not a single door was open. That is why I felt differently, replied Megha. Listen to Baba's answer. I do not need a door to enter. I have no form or dimension. I am always everywhere. For the one who places his burdens on me and has become one with me, I manipulate all his actions like the actions of a marionette. So be it. The subsequent marvelous narration about the purpose of the trident should be heard with great attention. The connection will become evident. On one hand, Megha returned and began to draw a trident on the wall near the picture in the Vada. He outlined the trident in red color. The next day, a Ramdasi devotee from Pune came to the masjid. He did obeisance to Baba with love and presented him with a lingam. Just then, Megha too had arrived there and did eightfold obeisance to Baba. Baba said, here, Shankar has come. Now you look after him. Upon getting the lingam in this manner, immediately after the vision of the trident, Megha kept gazing at the lingam, overcome with emotion. Kaka Sahib Dikshit too had another marvelous experience of the lingam. Listen with reverence to everything. Your faith on Baba will become firmer. While Megha set off from the masjid with the lingam, Dikshit was engrossed in chanting the Lord's name. After his bath in the Vada, wiping his body with a clean washed cloth or towel covering his head, he stood on a stone, concentrating on Sai. He was chanting the Lord's name as per his usual practice with his head covered. He then had the vision of the lingam. Dikshit thought, why did I today get the darshan of the lingam when I was chanting the Lord's name? There was Megha in front of him looking very gratified. Megha said, look, Kaka, look at the lingam Baba has given. Kaka was surprised and pleased to see that particular lingam. It was in the same shape, size, and markings like the one that had appeared in his meditation just a little earlier. Dikshit was delighted. Be it so. Later, after drawing of the trident was complete, Sai got Megha to establish the lingam near the picture. Since Megha liked to worship Shankar by presenting him with the Shankar lingam, Sai strengthened his devotion. Such were the marvelous narrations about Sai. Is there only one such story? I can relate innumerable, but this book would become extremely lengthy. Therefore, I ask listeners for a pardon. Yet, as you listeners are anxious, I will relate one more in the next chapter. You will see Sai's marvel, which is even more singular. Hemad surrenders to Sai and makes people listen to the Sai Satcharithra, by which the dangers of mundane existence will be warded off and everyone's difficulties will be removed. May there be well being. This is the end of the 28th chapter of the Shri Sai Satcharithra, written by the devotee Hemad Pant, impelled by saints and virtuous people, called Narration of Visions. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Let us now conclude chapter number 28 with the Aarti. श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय शिरडी माझे पंढरपूर साई बाबा रामावर बाबा रामावर साई बाबा रामावर शुद्ध भक्ती चंद्रभागा भाव पुंडली कंजागा पुंडलिक जागा भाव पुंडलिक जागा याहू अवघे जन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन साई श्रीवंदन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन गणोबने बाबा साई पाव पाव माझे आई पाव माझे आई पाव पाव माझे आई कनेलु तांघन बने गचरण दोयाति पाइन रूप तुझे प्रेमीन रंगीन अनंत पूजिम पवेव माइन बने नमा त्वमेव माता पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धु सदा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या दैरङ्गमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव अयनुमाचापसनियर्म उद्याकनावा पतन स्वभाव नरोमि अद्य सकलन्तरस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि अच्युतं केशवं राम नारायणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरे केशवं माधवं गोपिका वल्लभं जानकीनायकं रामचन्द्रं हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे श्री गुरुदेव दत्त सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय. Om Sai Ram. I urge all the listeners to read one chapter of the Sai Satcharithra daily and soak in Baba bliss. Baba bless you. Om Sai Ram.